minister, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and self-awakening, he lives his bliss as a teacher, mentor, speaker, minister, and so much more. His mission is to live, move, and be an active, which is an acronym, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities. I give you Reverend Dr. Ray.
Muchas gracias, Senora Tracy Rhymes. Thank you. So, y'all ready?
Ready.
So we're ending out the month of September, and the theme for September is reaching higher. And if you by any chance missed any of the previous Sundays, check them out, because remember, there's nowhere higher for us to go, because that which God is present where we are, and there's no reaching. How do you reach to become more of what you already are? It's being present to it. And so to continue that theme today, we're talking, and still I rise. There is that within us, for linguistic convenience, that continues to call us forward and upward, for linguistic convenience, on our journey of awakening, that calls us to a greater understanding of ourselves, our relationship with the self, our role and our purpose in society. And precisely because of this indwelling, all dwelling divine self that we are, that affords us the ability to persevere and rise in spite of the discomfort and the obstacles. It is because of this divine truth of ourselves that we are able to see that perhaps what is in the way is the way, and that we rise not in spite of our challenges and discomforts, but because of them. So let's pause for a second, breathe, and just let that in. Because I want to start us off with this idea of, and still I rise, but the question isn't, okay, so you rise, but the question is, how do you rise? What is the consciousness that you have when you rise? So we have this very common phrase, rise and shine. But when you awaken each morning, do you rise and shine? Or do you rise, but you're bleh? So you don't shine, you rise. I mean, dude is awake. Dude with the hammer, he's wide awake. Clearly he's awake. He's awake enough. He didn't sleep with the hammer in his hand. He ain't John Henry. He woke up, he ain't Thor. Tracy said, that's me. You wake up, but you wake up with reluctance. And you're mad at the alarm clock for waking you. You wake up and you're like, oh, and the first thing you do is check your phone, rather than rising and greeting the new day with the consciousness of, yes, a new opportunity for grace, a new opportunity to be magnificence, a new opportunity to be love in expression. I'm ready for the day. Pause, rise and shine. What does this even mean, though? If we're going to rise and shine, what does it really mean for us to anchor into the consciousness of rise and shine? What does it mean for us to awaken to the consciousness of rise and shine? Well, where does rise and shine come from? Theoretically, checking the origins of it, from the Bible. Isaiah 60, 1 and 2 verses. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Now we understand metaphysically that the Lord is that truest part of the self of who we are. So arise, shine, for your light is present, and the glory of your true self rises upon you. It matches your mental equivalent. And the topic of this particular passage is the future glory of Zion. Well, to those who are of the Rastafari tradition, Zion stands for a utopian peace or place of unity. A place of unity, peace and freedom. Whereas Babylon, dude who's breaking the alarm clock, Babylon, the oppressing and exploitive system, that which is materialistic and holds us down and binds us, the consciousness that causes evil. So do you rise and allow the truth of yourself to rise upon you? Are you a place of peace or a place of oppression? Metaphysical. I'm going to go to the bottom, so come with me. The metaphysical understanding of Zion. Well, actually, let's pause. Let's start at the top. Zion, to be clear, to be unobstructed, to be established, to be a fortress. Is that how you show up in your daily life? Are you a fortress, a place of safety and peace? Are you established? Are you clear? Are you focused? The metaphysical, the place where love abides, a place of subjective consciousness where high, holy thoughts and ideas are present in consciousness. Zion symbolizes our spiritual consciousness, which is what? It's truth. So the future glory of Zion, the future glory of being that fortress, that place of peace, that consciousness of truth. Arise and shine. Doesn't say lay there and dim. Arise, verb. Arise and shine, verb. Get up and be that which you are, for the glory of your true self rises upon you. Ernest Holmes says, there is a divine urge within everyone to know more, to be more, and to express more. And I have found that the thing we are searching for is the thing we are searching with. Pause and take that in. The thing we are searching for is what we are searching with. So knowing that, then when we refer to get up and get moving, arise and shine, a divine urge is a strong desire or impulse. When something is urgent, it requires immediate action or attention. There is an urgency, a force that impels or requires action. It is urgent for us to get up and get moving. There is an urgency in being the very power of, the very presence of peace and love and truth. Breathe. Now is a time of urgency to let the divine urge of spirit be what it is in, through, and as us. Ernest Holmes also then says, the person who can control their thought can have and do what they wish to have and to do. Everything is theirs for the asking. Everything is theirs for the asking. Okay, I got you. James 4:2-3. You crave what you do not have. You kill and covet. but you are not able to attain it. You are unable to attain it. You quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask. And when you do ask, you don't receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may squander it on your pleasures, your lusts. So, and when you do ask, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives. So Holmes said, when we are clear, when we do the practice, we are able to ask. The law responds. But what are our motives? What is the intention behind why we are asking? Is the intention being set from a place of fear? Or is the intention being set from a place of calm, certain, peace, spiritual truth? Like, that's something that each one of us has to explore and ask. But until we know, simply asking isn't enough. Asking with the right motivation. What motivates you to ask the question? What motivates you to desire what you desire to be, do, and have? What is the urgency behind the question? Fire. If I were to say, Tracy, I'm not asking her because she's going to say something. We ain't asking Tracy the question right now. But suppose I were. Tracy, I am going to ask her. I'm going to put her on the spot because she was messing with me this morning. Tracy, tell me at least 2 qualities of fire that if you were to reach your hand for it, what would you experience?
If I reach for my hand.
Reach your hand for the fire. Put your hand in the
fire, it's going to cook me.
Why?
Because it's hot.
Oh, because fire is hot. Because fire is hot. Okay, but suppose you weren't reaching your hand for it. Is there another quality that fire provides?
Yeah.
What? Warmth. Okay, so hand, So hand in, hot, burn, away, warmth. But there is also the opportunity to receive light. Mm-hmm. So Ernest Holmes says, take the heat out from under our old hurts, our old burdens. Take the heat out from under our old traumas and experiences, and what's left is the light. There is no longer the opportunity for that fire, that trauma, that oppression, that whatever it is, to burn us. Or as Tracy said, it's going to cook me. It's gone. And yet it is still there in terms of giving us light, clearing our path that we may see more clearly. Maya Angelou, from the poem Still I Rise, says, you may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Pause and breathe, because it's very important for us to recognize and understand that we are not referring to spiritual bypass. We understand and recognize that there are those experiences in the world that are painful, heinous, traumatic, evil. And yet we understand that when we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves through recognition of who and what we are and practicing principle. So that when we understand the heinous acts that are still experienced around the world today, not 100 years ago, not 400 years ago, we're talking last week, a day ago, a minute ago, somewhere, someone is experiencing great pains, great traumas. And yet, what is the practice that we are being engaged to put into practice? What are we being asked to rise and shine so that this consciousness that created these things no longer exists? So that no one any longer need suffer under. Remember, the Rastafarian tradition. Babylon is that consciousness of oppression and evil, right? So how do we rise and shine as the consciousness of Zion, the consciousness of clarity and peace and protection? Well, it means we have work to do. When you experience something personally, is it possible to move through it and transcend it? Yes. And when you do so, when we know this practice, we are no longer afforded the opportunity to turn and no longer observe. As Elie Wiesel says, what hurts the victim most is not the cruelty of the oppressor, but the silence of the bystander. How many times has a school been shot up? We are sending our prayers. That's bystanding. Prayer, yes, but what do we say in our tradition? Treat and move your feet. Act, rise and shine. Pray and move. But we have to ask ourselves, am I willing to, or am I more comfortable with the lack and limitation, the idea that I am unable to, the idea that I have limitations and fears that are holding me back? Well, you know, it's easy to say, but when you are someone who is born with no arms and no legs, and you stare at life and say, carpe diem. I want to learn to golf, I'm going to golf. I want to surf, I'm going to surf. I want to swim, I'm going to swim. Tracy, I'm not getting in the water, but Nick Vujicic, submerged. He has no arms and no legs. Snowboarding, no arms and no legs. Speaks before thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, no arms and no legs. Mentors other children and people with no arms and no legs or other varied physical abilities and disabilities. Is married with children. And yet here we are. But I can't, Tracy. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough. I'm something enough. But if you only knew this thing rather than, and still I rise. And what we know is that we do not heal in isolation. We heal in community. Elie Wiesel said, don't be the bystander. Don't see someone fall and just look. What is ours to do? If I rise and shine, then it is mine to say, how do I help my beloved brothers, sisters, and siblings rise and shine? This spiritual practice is meant to change and transform, creating a world that works for all. That means each one of us, spirit made flesh, we have a responsibility. We have the ability to respond to any form of condition or experience. Gloria Steinem says, whenever one person stands up and says, wait a minute, this is wrong, it helps other people to do the same. When one of us stands up and says, what is mine to do, it helps others do the same. When one stands up and heals, gives other people permission to do the same. Beloved community supports beloved community. What is the old African proverb? It takes a village to raise a child. Each one of us is a child of someone, and it takes the village, each one of us, to raise that inner child and that outer child, no matter the age. Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith says, this spirit within us is so powerful that it can rise even after the most devastating of circumstances. The remix. This spirit, which is infinite power and is living, moving, and being us, enables us in our human experiences to rise. In other words, to survive, to heal, and to thrive, even after the most devastating of circumstances. no matter what the experience or condition is, because of what we are, the truth of what we are, we have the ability to come together and address it and heal it and mend it and fix it and thrive even in the midst of it. Breathe. So there's this idea, if I say this word, cross, what comes to your mind? For some people, it's how did the chicken cross the road, Tracy?
Why did the chicken cross?
Now, I want to know how. I know why.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time. Now, just playing off this idea, cross. There are so many versions of what a cross is. A cross is an X that marks the spot. A cross is a plus sign that adds. A cross is multiplication. A cross is that image that we are so familiar with of a crucified Yeshua. Right? What is this significance of this for us? Glennon Doyle says, there is no resurrection without crucifixion first. Pause. All of our problems come from trying to rise before we surrender to our own crucifixion. What does that have to do with us? Pause and breathe. We try to rise and shine before having surrendered to our own crucifixion. Crucify means what? It means to fasten, to fix, to bind, right? So here's an obstacle, here's a crossroad, here's this opportunity for us to recognize that crucifixion is seeing the boulder, seeing the obstacle, seeing the thing that we are being invited to transcend. Crucifixion is what the caterpillar faces in becoming the butterfly. The caterpillar that tries to be the butterfly before dying in the cocoon will never become a butterfly. I mean, it can leap off the branch if it wants to, but it ain't gonna fly. How are we recognizing that whatever this obstacle is, it is an opportunity for us to be present with it, to surrender into it, to surrender and allow so that we may be transformed? You know, how often do we say, what you resist persists? We've talked about it here multiple times. But when we no longer resist it and we are present to it, we transcend it, we transmute it. We become someone different as a result of it. So our invitation is to recognize, as Malcolm X said, if you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6, that's not progress. That's not healing. If you pull it all the way out and you do not address the wound that was made, that is not progress, nor is that healing. Does not matter what or who or how this occurred. If it's not truly addressed, if it's not truly healed, then the wound remains. So yes, there are going to be those who are going to knife us in the back. There are going to be those who betray us. There are going to be those who want to nail us to the cross, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there are those who want us to be in a concentration camp or on a transatlantic boat trip into oppression. Yes, that consciousness currently exists within the minds of many people. But what is ours to do? What is ours to do right now? Are we ready to do the necessary healing work? To rise in consciousness in a lived practice? Are we ready to remove the beam from our own eye, the knife from our own backs, the millstone from around our necks, And if I'm unable to get the knife out of my back, then what am I going to do? I'm going to turn around and say, Amber, can you pull this out? I'm going to turn around and say, Fifi, can you pull that out? Tracy, can you help get this from around my neck? I'm going to ask for assistance. I'm going to ask for help. Are we ready to do this and heal all manner of wounds, past and present? And then to be a healing presence to those around us, so that those around us may also be healed. Once again, we do not heal in isolation. We heal in community, so that others may also be liberated, emancipated, and healed from all manner of dis-ease, disillusionment, discord, and dystopia. Breathe. Going back to how we started this on that first slide, there is that within us that continues to call us forward and upward, right? We remember this, okay? However, the remix is, there is that within us, that which is us, that continues to call us, that continues to call itself as us, forward and upward to greater awareness of who and what we are. On our journey of awakening, realizing, that calls us to a greater understanding of ourselves, our relationship with self, and our individual self. The greater self that is the absolute, and that absolute that is showing up as our individual self. Temet noske, know thyself. Our role and purpose in society, what is ours to do? And precisely because of this indwelling, all-dwelling divine self that we are, that affords us the ability to persevere and rise in spite of the discomfort and obstacles. In other words, to heal the circumstances and the conditions through engaged spiritual living. What CSL, Greater Baltimore, CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living. Not just spiritual practice, Centers for Spiritual Practice, Greater Baltimore. That's not a thing. Center. I am the center in my life. I am the center for spiritual living. God is a circle whose circumference is where? Nowhere. Whose center is everywhere. That means right where Tracy is, she is the center of spiritual living, right where she is, right where Jim is, right where Amber is, right where Fifi is, right where Betty is, right where each one of us is. We are the center for spiritual living. It is because of this divine truth of ourselves that we are able to see that perhaps what is in the way is the way, and that we rise not in spite of our challenges and discomforts, but because of them. We are invited to live triumphantly. We are invited to live our lives victoriously, no matter what, and still I rise. And when I rise and shine victoriously, triumphantly. There is no man, woman, person, circumstance, situation, or experience that will deny me the truth of who and what I am as spirit made flesh. And as spirit made flesh, I am incarnate, infinite possibilities and potentialities. And there is no one who can or will ever deny me that truth. I rise and shine, and still I rise and shine, and still I'm tired and rise and shine. I'm sad and still I rise and shine. I'm angry and still I rise and shine. I'm confused and still I rise and shine. No matter what, and still I rise. And when I rise, I shine. Breathe. This week's invitation to practice this thing we call spiritual living. Journal. What are your experiences, conditions, etc., that present, however they're showing up, they present as obstacles, right? You see it and you say, there's an obstacle. They present as obstacles in your lives and or the lives of those around you. And what wounds remain in your experience? Well, when I was 5, when I was 15, this is what happened. Is the wound still there? Not the scar. I'm saying is the wound. And Jesus said, stick your finger in the open wound. Is the wound still open? And if so, what am I invited to do to heal it, to transcend it, to recognize it and shine? Let the very place where the brokenness exists, let the light shine from that brokenness. What about those experiences and conditions and wounds are you being invited to address and heal and transform? What assistance are you seeking, requesting, that will help you to rise and shine? Remember, you have not because you ask not. And when you ask with the wrong motives. Am I asking from a place of clarity and purpose and truth? And then lastly, have a conversation with 4 people about what it means for you to live triumphantly and victoriously. And then have a conversation with them about the poem. Like, go get the full poem from Maya Angelou, Still I Rise, and read it and ask, how does this impact and inspire me and each other to nonetheless, still I rise? You may cut me with your words and still I rise. And still I rise. How does it impact you and inspire you to rise and shine? Today, our declaration, our affirmation, I will say it first. And if you feel in alignment, join in with me on the second go round. The power of God rises in, through, and as me, and I live free. Together, the power of God rises in, through, and as me, and I live free. And breathe. Breathe and recognize that freedom in us, same way we say namaste, the freedom in us recognizes the freedom in others. The God in me recognizes the God in others. Knowing that everything that was said and everything that was sung and everything that was prayed and everything that was meditated and every person who joined in brought the consciousness of community, the consciousness of healing, the consciousness of God to this divine and beautiful and powerful moment in time that we call Sunday service. But we know and we recognize that Sunday service is simply this moment in time. That which we are as spirit continues to be in service and of service. As Ernest Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, God acts upon God always. So we leave this moment in time and enter into the next moment of time, still being of service, being a beneficial, powerful presence of love, light, Zion, healing, and presence to the world. Knowing this, we declare this in gratitude and allow the law to do what it does and allow the universe to do what it does, which is yes to answered prayer. Yes, this is, and yes, you are. And so it is. Namaste. Blessings. Much love.